Okay, two more holes from the front on the top side. I'm coming in 1.5 inches on both of these marks right here. From this edge over here, I'm coming in 7 3/4, and then I'm coming in 13 3/4, and I will drill and countersink these holes as well. Here are the next two countersinking holes I'm going to drill. These are pieces number 8, and then I've marked an arrow here. These are now going to be designated pointing to the front. And I'm coming in 2 1/8, so I'm pretty much just cutting this in half, and I'm coming up 3/4 of an inch, and I'll pierce and countersink a hole here. Done the same thing here. Well, alright, we're down to 4 countersunk holes, and this thing will be ready to mock up. I'll have to finish pre-drilling and then put the screws in, and I'll follow that. But this is the back piece here. Now I've indicated an arrow pointing downwards, which is to the table itself, and I've flipped it down. And what I've done is I've come in 4 inches and 6 3/4 from both ends, and from this end 4 inches and then 6 3/4. I've come up 3/8 of an inch in all 4 of those spots, and these will be countersunk as well. Alright, well, I have the base flipped over, so now the top is up, and I've got it hanging off my table here, and I have one piece clamped on. It is set end for end, correct length, and I have it clamped up to it. What I'm going to do is take this drill, the countersink, and I'm going to hit the end holes first, and then I'll go ahead and run a screw in there. Then I'll move to the middle, and I'll make sure that I'm flush right here. I'll do the same thing and then run a screw, and then I'll do the other 2 that are left in it. Now I just want to note that the hole is back here. This is the back. So make sure you get that in the right orientation and all your arrows are pointing correctly, or you may have that wrong. So this is very important. Okay, well, I flipped it over and turned it around, so we're looking at the back right now, and here's one of the holes. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'll just kind of pre-drill and put my screws in. Alright, I said I was going to mention how deep I was setting my drill for my countersink. This is a tapered point countersinking drill, and it has an adjustable collar here, so you can actually counterbore with it as well if you wanted to. But there's a couple set screws. You just loosen it up, and this will adjust out. And I try to get the tip of this a little ways beyond the end of the screw. That gives a little bit of clearance in the bottom of the hole, and by doing that, it really does help prevent the boards from splitting. The MDF. It will happen from time to time, but another thing that I highly recommend doing is once you're drilling these to depth, don't just go in there the whole way. Go in there a little ways and clean it out. If you don't do that, you can actually split the board while you're drilling it. This is just one variety of countersinks. This is what I finished both sides and went ahead and took care of the back. Same principle. Came in, did the same drill, ran my screws. This one also has 2 screws that come in from either end. So that has been taken care of, and now we need to do the front. I have the front piece clamped on and lined up with my index marks. I have 5 holes I need to pre-drill and run my screws in, and this piece will be complete. Well, this piece has been installed and it's now been flipped over. I have number 8. Both of these are number 8 in here now. I'm going to go ahead and finish drilling the 4 holes here and run screws, and then I'll take my clamps off, and there's a hole underneath each clamp. I need to drill down and put a screw in there, and then I'll turn the whole thing around and we'll work. Alright, well, those fasteners have been installed, and these are the last 4 that we need to put in right now. Finish drilling and then run the screws in. I don't have the exact level here, the height, to get this absolutely to the top, so what I'm going to do is hold it up, make it level. I'll do one screw, and then I'll do the other one, and I'll do that on both sides. Alright, well, this has been mocked up. Everything's looking good so far. I don't know if you can see, but I have a series of holes right here that I goofed again. Since I accidentally pierced those holes originally, I got backwards, so got a couple little boo-boos there. Just going to kind of give you an idea on where I'm going with this. These obviously have not been finished yet, but just lay these legs in. So that's a rough idea on where we're going. These legs will actually scissor up to make the stand, and then there'll be a cross piece across here. As you raise them up, it will slide down and it will hit this contact right here. And that's really why that was a specific dimension, because I want this to be a certain height. You know, you could probably get away with using 1.5 inches here like I had it. You would just have your table a little bit higher. No big deal, it should all work out, but that's in essence where we're going. Alright, I'm getting ready to start working on the legs. I have 4 laid out here and I've made 4 arrows. These are now going to become directional. On 2 of the legs, I've come in 1 3/4 in both directions and made a mark here. And then flipping it over from the top, I've come down 20 inches on both of those and made a mark 1 3/4 inches in, so it's in the center. And on the other 2 legs, they're marked with an arrow. They come down 20 inches and they're marked off as well. These will be recessed holes that are 5/8. There'll be 4 here, as well as these 2 here will be recessed 5/8 of an inch, 1 inch in diameter, and then they will be pierced the rest of the way through with 3/8 inch. So this is going to recess all the hardware so everything moves without making any contact with that. I called for 2 1/4 inch bolts on a couple of these, and I could only get 2 1/2. So I bought 2 1/2s, and I may have to cut them down a little bit. Pretty sure I will, but we'll note that when we get there. So these are just layout marks for now. I need to round the corners of these off. All ends, they're going to be a radiused end, as well as run around over a bit around the outsides. So once I get to these steps, I'll make note of those as well. Alright, well here's a quick shot of the pattern I'm making. This is 3 1/2 inches wide, and this point here is 1 3/4 inches in, so it's in the center of the board. And I'm coming down 1 3/4 inches as well, and I've scribed my radius around here at 1 3/4 inch. So I'll cut this out real close to the line, and then I'll sand and file this down, and that'll be the pattern that we use. Alright, well here's a quick shot of my finished pattern. Turned out great. Quick work on the disc sander, and this thing's ready to go. Basically what I'm going to do is just line them up right here, and I'm just scribing lines around, line up the end and line up the sides. I'm just scribing reference marks here like that, and then I'll come in here and get close to that and take these corners off with a jigsaw so I don't have to do as much removal with the router. Then I'll stick my pattern down and use a flush trim bit, which is this is the one I'm going to use here. And because the bearing's on the bottom, once I have the pattern on there, I'll flip it upside down and I'll ride along that pattern with the bearing and cut them off that way. Alright, well, I have everything set up and ready to go. I got lucky, I didn't have to stick my pattern down. It was long enough, everything just clamped together, it's real secure. I'm not sure how well this is going to pick up, but I'm going to go ahead and try to make the cut. Looks great, feels great. 7 more to go. I'll tell you one thing, guys, I have got to get a people-sized router. Look at the size of this monster. It's just heavy and it's difficult to control. You know, I have a Porter Cable laminate trimmer, and I use this for freehanding and, you know, doing roundovers and stuff like that, but it doesn't have a 1/2-inch collet capability, so I was stuck using this. So I'm going to go on the hunt for a decent router. I'm kind of leaning towards the Bosch stuff. They look pretty nice. I'll address that later, but if I do any more work freehand like this, I've got to get something that's more manageable. Well, hopefully things are starting to make a little bit more sense on where I was going with everything. Now these legs are rounded out, and they will pivot up like this, and then this one will scissor back out and stop, and that's basically what's going to happen here. So at this stage I'm ready to start piercing some holes, and then after I pierce these holes I'll go around this with a roundover bit as well. So at each point that was previously marked, I'm going to have a 1/8 inch or 1-inch hole going down 5/8 of an inch, and I'll do that with a Forstner bit. And then after I get all those set to depth, I'll chase the rest of the hole the way through with a 3/8 inch bit. Alright, here's a quick shot of all the holes pierced. There are 4 right here that are recessed 5/8 of an inch, and then they're 3/8 all the way through. On these 2 out here on the flip side of those, hopefully you can see there exactly what I'm talking about. So there's one here, then there's one here. I'm at the stage right now where I'm getting ready to round over all these edges on both sides of it. Alright, well I chose a 1/4 inch round over. A 3/8 was way too much. I'd like to have a 5/16, but I don't have one. So it's going to get a 1/4 inch round over. I've already tested it on some scrap and set my depth. So I'm ready to round over all these edges, and then I'll flip it and do the other side to each and every one of these. Well, that's the drill.